Today, I'll introduce to you the movie called Freaky, telling a story of a girl who was trapped in a serial killer's body. It was said that, 20 years ago, in this town, there was a terrible serial killer wandering around. He was called Blissfield Butcher. But as time went by, the old killer disappeared and gradually became a legend. Adults would warn teenagers about him, saying the butcher would clean up the dissolute students on Homecoming's Day every year. These were 4 teenagers gathering to gossip about the legend. Halfway through the conversation, 2 of them went into the house looking for wine, accidentally catching the owner's collection. The boy saw a flash of red light above. It attracted the butcher. He quickly killed the 4 of them. He used the wine bottle to kill the first teenager, the toilet lid to kill the second, the racket to kill the third, and he hung the last one to the wall. Then the butcher took the dagger and wandered around. It seemed that these years, he had been looking for this thing. Then the camera turned. Millie was still sleeping in her room. What about her? Her father died. Her sister was a police officer and her mother was an alcoholic. Because of her father's death, her mother was unable to get out of the shadow. Millie pretended to listen to her mother to appease her. Because of wearing her mother's clothes style, she was bullied at school. She was secretly in love with Josh but didn't dare to confess to him. Fortunately, she had 2 good friends, one was Nyla and one was Booker. Booker came up with the idea that they were the bully trio. The news about 4 young people being killed soon spread all over the town. But because of the hype of the residents, the school's homecoming day wasn't cancelled. Anyway, we could see something was coming soon. Some of them yearned for festivals and freedom, breaking through any dangerous constraints. As a result, after rehearsal that night, Millie's mother drank too much and didn't pick up Millie. As a result, all the other students left, leaving Millie waiting alone. Later, her sister found out after work and contacted her. As a result, Millie's cell phone just ran out of power. All bad things came to her. Just then, the butcher wearing a mask appeared in front of Millie and started chasing her. Millie was hiding but it was useless. She was caught. On this dark and windy night, the butcher raised the dagger and stabbed Millie. Millie also took out her self-defense knife. The 2 stabbed each other in the shoulder. At that time, lightning and thunder came and dark clouds covered the moon. It was very unusual. The next second, Millie's sister arrived and saved Millie. The butcher escaped. The next morning, something magical happened. Millie and the butcher swapped bodies. Now in Millie's body was actually the soul of a murderer. But the people around didn't know it all. They only thought that she hasn't recovered from the attack. At this time, the real Millie was trapped in the butcher's body. She was at a loss. The butcher went to school instead of Millie. He chose a bodysuit to match his style. The students were surprised when he arrived. All the boys in the school blew up. Am I blind? Why Millie looks so good today? Even a little girl at school took the initiative to approach him. The butcher took the opportunity to take her to the storage, turning on the refrigerator. At this time, Millie also tried to go back to school, asking her friends for help. But she had the wanted man's face. Anyone who saw her intended to call the police. And it was ironic that she was a girl but trapped in an old man's body.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
She must get back to her body. Millie sneaked back to school. She found the refrigerator in the storage. When she opened it, the little girl fell out and broke into pieces. She couldn't let the butcher use her identity to kill people. Millie quickly found her 2 good friends. They ran away when they saw her. Millie explained while chasing after them. After that, they attacked her in self-defense. The butcher's body was very strong. Her friends were not her opponent. But Nyla suddenly kicked her in the balls. What a painful kick. Millie recovered and found that she had balls. She couldn't understand the butcher body's operation. She had an idea and started to do her cheerleader moves. She couldn't understand the butcher body's operation. She had an idea and started to do her cheerleader moves. The 2 friends believed her. They discussed and concluded that the body swap had something to do with that strange dagger. They searched on the internet and found out that the dagger was used for sacrifice. There was a sentence written in Spanish on the dagger. They found their Spanish teacher for translation. The teacher told them it said that if the sacrifice failed, their bodies would exchange. After 24 hours, this exchange would become a permanent mark. In other words, they must quickly find the dagger to get her body back before midnight. At the same time, the butcher continued to slaughter. This time, he had an eye on the carpentry teacher who had been bothering him. But because he was in Millie's body, his strength was lost. It took him several rounds to succeed. As soon as he came out, he met the bullied trio. Not waiting for them to speak, the butcher screamed for help, leading the security guard to catch Millie. Millie had no choice but to escape, hiding in the clothing shop where her mother worked. She changed her clothes and wore a hood to escape. They passed the text sent by their classmates and learned that the butcher was staying in the game hall with some boys. She hurriedly looked for the butcher. At this time, the butcher had colluded with Josh into the haunted house, getting ready to hit him. Fortunately, Millie arrived in time and knocked down the butcher. Josh misunderstood her, so she had to put him down as well and took them back to Booker's house. After a while, Josh woke up. The butcher also tried to mislead him by pretending to be Millie. Fortunately, Millie responded quickly. She recited the love poems that she secretly placed in Josh's locker. That proved her identity. She also made a confession to him. Coincidentally, Josh had had a crush on Millie for a long time. The danger had not been relieved yet. They also took off a bill. After discussing, the four decided to leave the butcher for Booker. The other three went to the police station to steal the dagger. It happened that Millie's sister was on duty that night. Nyla was responsible for stealing the dagger. Millie and Josh stayed in the car to talk about their feelings. Nyla rushed in and lied that she had just been kidnapped by the butcher and said that he was behind the police station now. After distracting the police, she started her plan. Millie's sister walked around and didn't see anyone. She soon found out that something was wrong, so she came back and caught Nyla. Besides, someone saw her and Booker with the butcher before. She misunderstood and thought they were together in crimes. She told Nyla to hand over the dagger. Nyla had to obey. On the other side, while Booker was watching TV, the butcher was trying to untie the rope. Just a moment later, Booker's mother came back early. She asked him what was going on. "Son, why Millie is mouth taped and tied up?" Booker tried to save the situation, lying that they were playing games, were cosplaying. His mom doubted, cosplaying is a game now. This rhetorical question confused Booker. He was stunned for 2 seconds and began to talk nonsense. "You're right. Actually, I'm straight. Tell me whatever you are playing here. How could you be straight?" After that, she untied the butcher. Booker wanted to stop her but he was already too late. The butcher had untied himself, picked up the knife and pursued them. The mother and son quickly hid in the room. Fortunately, Millie's body was really weak. The butcher couldn't open the door, so he had to give up and diverted to the police station. He ran into Millie's sister and Nyla. Millie rushed in when she saw the butcher coming. As a result, her sister immediately wanted to catch her. The three friends wanted to explain, but Millie's sister didn't listen at all. The butcher grabbed the dagger and ran away. In a hurry, Millie had to subdue her sister and then chased after the butcher. Time was running out. The butcher returned to the homecoming party and continued his killing. Josh set an alarm in his watch and gave it to Millie so that she could pay attention to the time. They began to look for the butcher separately. A boy told Booker that he had seen Millie, but he was just taking advantage of Booker. Booker was stunned. While they were arguing, the butcher broke through the wall and stabbed a boy with a hook. The others heard Booker screaming, also arriving in time, staring to chase the butcher. Finally, because the butcher's new body was weak, he was knocked down by Nyla and Booker. At this time, Millie just wanted to stab him, but the alarm rang. It was too late. At this moment, they were stunned. Millie was very sad. Tears ran down her bearded cheeks. Booker thought for a while and suddenly realized that the school bell hadn't rung yet. It was not over yet. Millie just remembered Josh had a habit of doing everything 5 minutes earlier. So his watch was set 5 minutes in early. She still had time. She stabbed the dagger on the butcher. The two changed back to their bodies. Just then, the police arrived. They shouted for them to kill the butcher. The butcher, who had just returned to his body, fell to the ground. Millie finally came home. Her mother was also aware of her problems. The mother and daughter opened up their feelings. But what she didn't expect was the butcher wasn't dead. He ran away, coming to her house to kill her. The mother and daughter teamed up to defeat him. Finally, the butcher said, "I've been in your body. I know why you're fragile. Your life is meaningless. Now let's solve it." He was ready to kill her. And then Millie said, "In your body, I also learned something." Then she hit him in the balls. The butcher revealed a moment of weakness and was killed by them. With the butcher's death, Millie also completed her transformation. The film was over here. The story tells us that you should remember some unique codes between you and your friends. It's very useful in some cases. That's all for today. I'm Harry. I'll see you next time.